The wayfinding landscape is changing, so welcome to Endpoint's Wayfinding Xchange Podcast. We want to connect with leading experts, tech innovators, and key contributors to exchange knowledge and innovation in physical and digital wayfinding. We want to shape the future of wayfinding through discussion, collaboration, and shared expertise. And this is why we have created this podcast series. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to this episode of Endpoint's Wayfinding Xchange Podcast with me, Alison Richings, the Wayfinding Design Director. Long before digital maps, people navigated through their environment through proportion, light, acoustics, landmarks, movement, and the curation of space itself. Wayfinding is not something you use, it's something you feel. Today, we increasingly introduce a new layer, a digital cognitive layer that sits between the person and the space. A map in your hand, a dot that represents you, a route drawn across geometry. So the question becomes, is digital indoor mapping enhancing the spatial experience or quietly replacing part of it? Are we reducing friction or are we shifting attention from the architects to the interface? For many of our clients, this isn't simply a technology decision, it's a philosophical one. What role should the building itself play in orientation? What role should digital systems play? And, most importantly, what's the impact on people? Then there's the long-term shift, AI. If AI agents begin guiding us invisibly, does the concept of a map dissolve entirely? Does navigation become ambient? And then what is the role of spatial design? Today's conversation isn't about features. It's about the relationship between space, technology, trust, and navigation confidence. To explore this, I'm joined by Phil Rae, Chief Product and Technology Officer at Living Map, the company behind some of the most sophisticated digital indoor mapping environments, including my personal favourite, the interactive map for the Met Museum in New York. Over the past 2 decades, Phil has led product and technology across industries where the digital system doesn't just support the experience, they reshape human behaviour. He thinks not only about what users see on the screen, but about the data structures, the incentives, and the intelligence layers beneath it. Welcome, Phil.
Hello, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an absolute privilege to talk to you today. And I really would like us to get under the skin of tech and its place in the building. Perfect. And how physical and technology works together.
Fantastic. Sounds good.
So first of all, tell us about Living Map. How did it start? What were the problems the company was trying to solve?
So Living Maps, it's been around longer than I've been there. It's actually been around since about 2010 or the early 2010s.
Yeah.
As digital maps were coming into their own, everybody were starting to have things like iPhones in their pockets. Google Maps was a thing now. People were navigating like that. And Living Map came about actually as a spin-off company from another wayfinding company. It was going to be seen as the source of truth for both this company's digital offerings and print offerings, more traditional print signage. Since then, it's kind of been fully spun out into its own entity. We focus solely on the digital map experience. We don't work with print maps anymore. And I joined the company in 2020 and have overseen the development of our software and our platform since then.
I love the fact that you said it was a source of truth. Is it all right if I pick up on that?
Yeah, go for it.
What do you mean by it being the source of truth? I think this is going to be quite interesting for people.
Yeah, so for all large buildings, large institutes, you have the information in regards to what the building is, how the building's structured, and that often comes in the form of architectural diagrams. And you may have one big diagram, you may have a scatter of diagrams, but in essence that explains how the building's structured. But you can't really use that information in terms of digital mapping. So in essence, what Live a Map is the base layer of that. We accept those CAD diagrams, architect diagrams, we convert it into a format that is map-based, GIS-based. And then from there, you can construct maps that satisfy use cases, essentially. So that's in its single source of truth. We've become the provider of indoor maps and campus maps and essentially mapping information that our clients via us can control.
But I love that. I love the fact that you said about it being a source of truth, because maps throughout their entire history, going back millennia, are always perceived to be a source of truth, but are actually quite led by whoever decided to either fund it or whoever decided to design it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting, the idea of truth. I think there's something quite powerful in that.
Yeah, well, the fact for us with Britain being in the very middle of the map, of a traditional world map, that's kind of been driven by us in Greenwich. And
absolutely, yeah. And this is where time starts, because we decided it to be so. But I love that because, of course, as information designers, we make a whole series of decisions around maps that we think help support cognitive load. So we say, oh, well, if a building's got lots of sort of funny edges, we won't draw them all in because you don't need to see them.
Yeah.
So we're already kind of veering away from the truth, but we're doing it with the best intentions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it just really took me that you said about the truth, and I really like that. And I guess if the starting point is always a series of CAD diagrams, then in theory they are as close to the truth as you can get.
Yeah. I mean, it is the truth to the building, but it's not necessarily the truth to the building and its environment and where it's placed on the earth. Like all our maps are ground truth. The coordinates on the map are literal lat and longitude on the globe. And so we can visualize what's around the building, we can visualize what's in the building, and then from the architect diagrams, we can specifically indicate what's in there. And we can abstract it to a bit, like you say. We can smooth out jaggedy corners and make it easier for our users to use and see their way around a building.
But I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Sort of, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but I'm mindful of the underground map, which is a map that when Harry Beck designed it, he used like a fisheye lens approach for the middle section. So when you're traveling around, you think that everything is similarly spaced apart. Yeah. And then you get those things, and I can't remember which stations it is. It's like Mansion House and somewhere else. On the map, it looks like you've got to change lines. But actually, if you were to walk up out of the station, you could see the other station across the road, because as a map goes, it's actually the least truthful of all maps. Yet we rely on it heavily as our mental model for how London is set out, even though it's the biggest lie.
Quite a few times I've walked from Bank to Moorgate and realised that's not close.
Absolutely. Do you think there are types of buildings that benefit more from a digital map than others? And does that say something about those environments, do you think?
I'd say yes. And it often comes down to the use case, but also the building's structure. There's definitely a lot of buildings in the UK, or at least groups of buildings, that certainly need some kind of consistent mapping throughout. Comes to mind is the likes of hospitals in the UK.
Yeah.
A hospital can be a group of 10, 20 different buildings, some of them 100 years old, some of them brand new.
Yeah.
And everything in between. And the transitions between buildings are usually covered walkways, and somebody arriving at a hospital doesn't want to be there, usually.
Yeah.
Unless you work there. But
yeah.
If you're a patient, you usually don't want to be there. You're highly anxious. If it's your first time there, you've no idea where to go. You're probably in the wrong car park for where you need to get to.
Yeah.
And when you enter the building, you're given a whole slew of signs and maps that often can be different in each different building you get to. So obviously having a consistent experience of guiding someone from point A, which is likely a car park or an entrance door, to where they want to go, not necessarily to the room, but to the reception of the department where they want to get to. A map is very key to that. There are other buildings, like I touched on, shopping centres and museums, where a visitor is there to browse, essentially. So at a museum, you may want to see specific collections, or you may just want to find your way around a museum, or you may just want to find the toilets at the museum. But then there's other buildings where, for certain use cases, a map may not be required. A lot of buildings have great signage. So like brand new airports, for a passenger who's arriving for a flight in an hour, may just want to get to their gate. Perhaps a map's not required because it's very well signposted. You get to the check-in desk, you get ushered to security, and then you get ushered to your numerical gate, which is gate 10 is usually after gate 9, which is after gate 8. So it's very easy to find your gates. Whereas another passenger may arrive at the airport with 5 hours until their flight, and thus the airport becomes a bit of a shopping centre for them. So you get those buildings where it depends on the use case. It depends on the visitor or the passenger.
I think it's also about the type of behaviour, and I think you described it really nicely, because it really is about, if I've got a singular journey and I'm going to walk into an airport, I've got an hour, I'm going to be processed pretty much, then I don't need a map. But if I'm there 5 hours early and I want to know kind of where the shops are, then suddenly I become like a shopping centre person.
Yeah.
So it's to do with how singular your journey is. So there is definitely something about the mindset that the user's in, the type of space it is, because hospitals are different to that.
Yeah.
Because you're quite time poor, because you've usually got an appointment, so you need to be there. But there's something to do with, it's almost like the digital map works really well when your stress levels are super high.
Yeah.
So you need that sort of mental model reassurance. And when your stress levels are really low, when you can just relax and go, I fancy a bit of this and then a bit of that, and a bit of this, that and the other.
Well, something we try and encourage with at least with our NHS clients is that our maps, we've put a lot of thought and design into the fact that you can share a link and pull up any point of interest or any route, any wayfinding route on the map just through a special link. And so being able to provide those to the visitors, the patients ahead of time, perhaps in that letter you get, which says your appointment is in this department on this date, you can include a QR code or a link in there. The user can load that up and get the map instantly, see the route from the correct car park to where they're going. And so plan ahead so you don't need to arrive anxious.
So that's brilliant. So the idea is then that as a part of the appointment letter, they print a QR code on it. That will then link you to the map for that hospital, and you can start playing around with it. It goes directly to that department.
That's
brilliant.
Yeah, every single point of interest and every single route from A to B on our maps, or even the state of the map, so how zoomed in it is, how zoomed out, we can create links that will get you to load that specifically onto a user's device. And so, so there's that aspect of trying to encourage the visitor to do that ahead of time, to stop them feeling anxious when they get there. And when they get there, they've either memorized where they need to go, or they have the map with them at the time and can see exactly where to go. Again, it's feeding into that mindset, that use case, different places, different settings, different people. There's many different use cases for having the map. So it's our challenge and the people we work with to try and avoid getting to the anxious user stage.
Yeah, that makes sense. So is there a world, I love these sorts of questions around the perfect building, but is there a world in which the perfect building doesn't need living map?
Small venues, you're probably okay. Large venues, I think there will always be a use case for one. So if you take an office block, somebody arriving at the office block would go to the front desk, ask where they want to go. The front desk will say, take the lift to floor 6 and go to that reception desk. And so you may think, well, that person doesn't need a map. And they don't. They absolutely don't. They just need a couple of signs that say, lifts this way, up the stairs you go. But for all the office workers in this building and for that visitor, they may need to know about meeting rooms. They may need to know, they may have a meeting 2 floors up that they've never been to at one specific meeting room. Or they may want to see all the meeting rooms on a floor and see whether they're occupied or not, or linked through to some booking system. So within that building, the traditional use case of a visitor visits a building, so they need a map. That doesn't work for that. They don't need a map. But the people in the building and various use cases in the building may require a map. And then there's things like under the surface where you have your maps for the public, but then you also have your maps for back of house stuff.
Yes.
So the electrician that arrives at that
Yes.
same building needs to know where all the sockets or the electrical equipment is that they need to check, or the water guy needs to know where the water mains, and the gas guy needs to go where the gas mains is. So that can all be mapped. And traditionally that would appear on your architect diagrams, or it would appear on somebody's sketch on top of an architect diagram. And they wouldn't know where they've kept that, they wouldn't know what drawer it's in, or they wouldn't know what file it's in. So that's where we come back to that source of truth, where a building has a map data set. On top of that map, you can place the nice stuff like the museum artifacts or the shops, but there's also the layer for maintenance, layers for facilities, the layers for asset tracking, and it's all the same map underneath. It's just different use cases and different presentations of the same map data.
I think that's really important, because I think quite often clients will come at the idea that they know they would like a map. I think quite often lots of clients say, we want something digital. It may not be that clear about even what that really means for them in their building. But actually, there's a huge back of house operational user case for this.
Yeah.
And I think that we quite often think about solving the visitor experience.
Yeah.
But there's lots of other people having an experience in this building that have needs as well that often get left out.
And often a worse experience.
Absolutely, because we don't...
Yeah, like these contractors cost time per hour.
Yeah.
And if they spend 2 hours trying to find a water meter, then that's 2 hours of wasted money. So there's a clear return on investment of
Absolutely.
mapping where all these utility things are.
And when you talk to clients, potential clients about that, is it like a light bulb moment for them because they've often not thought of it?
Often it's different teams in the buildings.
Sure.
So you'll have the customer experience team come to say, we want a map for our visitors. And then we'll say to them, oh, why don't you involve the facilities team?
Yeah.
Go, why would they be interested? Go, well, because your maps also can be used by them, and you can get both your budgets and come together and produce something for both of you. So it's often a challenge for us to speak to the right people in the buildings. Or another one is the IT team. And they've got things mapped out there as well. They need to know where all the network nodes are. They need to know where equipment's been placed on this core thing. Is incredibly beneficial for them all, but it is quite a challenge of introducing certain people or getting the introductions.
I mean, we come across that all the time with wayfinding, because we talk about a whole journey and we say, well, what you tell people before they come is as important as what you tell them when they've arrived.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at pre-visit information and website and everyone goes, oh gosh, we hadn't thought to join up that part of it. And that's a different team.
Yeah.
And then if you're talking about more traditional static information, then it's like that's one part of the facilities team.
Yeah.
And then with digital information, you've got IT and maintenance of IT systems.
More recently, we're getting more inbound inquiries from facilities teams in regards to things like asset tracking and presenting these things on the map so like the meters and sensors as well. And usually those ones lead easier to the wayfinding aspect, so we've got a facilities map, it's great. Oh, we could use that for wayfinding too. And usually that's an easier sell than the other way around.
Yeah.
We usually find that if we've come from the customer experience side and we've created that map, it's quite hard to court the facilities team into why they'd see a benefit in it.
Why do you think that is? Because in my mind, the benefit seems so obvious. What do you think their resistance is? Is it because it's potential change in process?
We've found that when we do an example for someone, like if they've not asked for it, they're quite impressed by it.
Yeah.
It's, I guess more it's the imagination of why would this be any better than the piece of paper I have with all my scribbles on it?
Yeah.
And you can say to them, oh, yeah, that piece of paper is fine, but if you're on leave one day and somebody has to come in and do an emergency fix to something, you've got that piece of paper locked in your desk. But when they see it on a map and they see how easy it is to share these things and share a link to a very specific thing on the map, they usually see the merits of it and are quite impressed. And especially that they have everything on the entire campus of buildings on the one map. So it's not a case of they've got 20 different sheets of paper. They've got one digital map that contains all the 20 sheets of paper within it.
Yeah. It's really interesting, actually, I think, because you're right. It is super impressive. And the story that sits with that about what it can do for you and how powerful it is, but the slight fear and resistance of change and what that might mean.
Yeah.
But like you say, as soon as they see it,
Yeah.
the clients are like, yeah, I definitely want one of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really interesting. And I guess sort of slightly to the side of that, but I think there's two things that are really interesting in it, is how you translate spatial cues, how you deal with landmarks. What I really love about the Met Museum one is the way that landmarks are dealt with on that map, because, you know, it's a museum that's notoriously difficult to find your way around.
Yeah.
And there's a simplicity and a utility, but in a really information design beautiful way. How do you pick what the good wayfinding landmarks are? Do you? Is it something that the client says, we think it's these ones? Do you, you know, cross-reference with them? And then how do you work out what the best approach is to really highlighting them?
Yeah. When it comes to things like landmarks, we will work with the client and discuss with them if there's any landmarks that they would particularly like highlighted on the map, so that users can use it as a reference point when they're walking around the space and they're trying to orientate themselves onto the map, but also as kind of a visual appeal, a visual flair on the map that makes it more of their own. How we like to highlight these landmarks can be things like illustrations on the map, so it's nice little line drawings that themselves are a point of interest on the map, so you can click on them and come up with information about it. Or if it's like for retail stores, then you can use their logos as instead of their text names on the map, so it gives a bit more visual reference to the user of the map. Like when you see the Nike logo, you know it's Nike without reading the word Nike. So that visual cue on the map is quite beneficial to them. And then we can add things like 360-degree imagery, so that when you're viewing a landmark on the map, you can pull up its information, and you can essentially in 360 degrees view the area around that. So something quite akin to Google Street View, but for our clients and very specific to them. And then we can also do things like we can link off to other information about these landmarks. So it provides a one kind of cohesive system of not restricting people to just the map, but also information about what's there, and then the relevant links to them outside of that as well. So
it gives a level of, I suppose, without it being personalised, because it's a map and it's there for everybody. It gives you a level of personalisation because you can build your mental model of the space and you can look at it and make decisions. I guess it's about putting the power in the hands of users and getting them to make decisions.
I mean, the hardest thing for a user is orientating themselves on the map.
Yes. Yeah, because we've all done it. I mean, not necessarily on your map, but we've all stood there in the street with Google Maps going and pulling it around and then going, it's this way. Oh no, it's not. It's that way. It's behind us.
But at least outdoors, you have the benefit of satellite navigation.
Exactly, so which of course you don't have. Inside.
Having a user be able to get a blue dot on the map of where I am right this second is really hard.
Yeah.
And
I don't think actually, for our benefit of our clients, I don't think people really realise that.
Well, they take it for granted.
I think, because
so well
it's outside and when you're in a car, it works. So I think people just make a series of assumptions. But the biggest problem as well with indoor spaces is that, in the three-dimensionality of it, you've got multiple floors. Even if it did... even if the satellite could reach through the walls of the building and pinpoint you, it also isn't doing the horizontal to know which floor you're on. So there's all sorts of really challenging things about doing that blue dot navigation.
And what makes it quite hard is that of those different floors, each floor can look identical on the map. So usually one floor is a copy of the floor above, a copy of the one above. And without those distinctive landmarks on the map, it's really hard to understand where you are and orientate yourself. The hardest part of using a map is finding out where you are on that map. Then to do that quicker is better. We want to avoid our users becoming frustrated. And I do it a lot when using maps. Where am I? Where am I? I need to, without knowing where I am, I can't get to where I'm going. And so I think hopefully the indoor position aspect will progress and get better and not require outlays of technologies that you can do it these days. You can deploy a Bluetooth beacon infrastructure in your space, but that comes with problems. It's a high cost to fund it. It's a lot of effort to get these things on the wall, a lot of maintenance, and then you need to run your map within an app because you need access to the Bluetooth sensors on your phone, which you can only do within an app.
And nobody downloads apps anymore.
Nobody downloads apps. So there's a lot of headaches behind it, but it can work. With the right investment. So hopefully technology will bring up some novel approaches for that.
I really want to get into that because I think we are standing at a kind of really interesting time in the world where, there's lots of changes going on and, Google Glasses 10 years ago were going to be the thing that was going to revolutionise the world. Obviously, Meta has worked with Ray-Bans and they're now doing the Meta version and everyone's moving over to wearables. There's lots of talk about the mobile phone is dead. I mean, let's face it, we don't make calls on it.
No.
I mean, I called my friend the other day and she was like, oh my God, what's happened? And I was like, nothing. She was like, but you don't phone me. No one phoned me. It must be an emergency. So how do you foresee all of this changing?
So for the last few years, we have a lot of inquiries by prospective clients or even clients we have about things like augmented reality and holding up your phone and being able to see your route in front of you of where to go. A lot of people will kind of link indoor navigation or even outdoor navigation to their car sat nav and being like in a car. Like 20 years ago, you'd have that A to Z on the back windscreen and
still got it.
You'd be able to
Atlas in the boot, love it.
And you'd plot your route on that and you'd have that sat in the seat next to you and people would really use a map as a map in earnest, or try to at least. Or when I moved to London, I had a London A to Z in my pocket.
Love the A to Z. They are beautiful.
I didn't love that at 2 a.m.
It's true. When you're trying to get
the train home.
It's true.
Luckily, Google Maps eventually came along. And so that kind of evolved into having this display on your dashboard where it would just tell you where to go now and next. So follow this road 2 miles and turn left. And it was simplifying a map down to its purest, simplest instruction. And for driving, that's great, because driving is essentially a one-dimensional plane. You go forwards or backwards until you get to a junction, and then you go left or right. And the time between decisions tends to be a couple of minutes, if not a couple of hours. And so that works well for cars. And so we have a lot of interest over the last few years of augmented reality. So being able to use your phone, you can hold a tap and be able to see the way forward like a car sat-nav would. And so you hold up your phone, you see a representation of the world through your phone's camera, and then you plot a line on top of it and say, follow this line and you'll get to where you're going. In theory, that's great, but I challenge anybody to hold their phone up for more than 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
But I think that is where we're going. And I think it will take 10 or 20 years, because I don't think the interface is your phone.
I agree.
And I
100%.
think the slab of display that sits in your pocket will be around for quite a while, but I don't think it's the format for this. I think the format is going to be the evolution of, say, something like Apple's Vision Pro, which is this huge, great hunking set to put on your head.
Yes.
But it does all the right things when you see through its lens. You can see a map projected into space. You can see the line projected in front of you. The problem is you look like an idiot walking through the town wearing it.
But then we used to say that about mobile phones.
Yeah. Well, what happened is the technology miniaturized and utility increased. And so I think the augmented reality thing will happen when it becomes a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
Or even better, contact lenses.
Yeah.
Because we're coming up to the point where half the population wears glasses, so it's not weird to wear glasses. And the rest can wear contact lenses.
Yeah.
And so when you can see stuff projected in front of you there, I think that's when augmented reality will genuinely be a thing.
Do you think that's the death of maps? It will just get to the point where it will throw up on your glasses or on your contact lenses, turn left here, or even some haptics that vibrate, and mapping as we know it dies?
I don't think so. I think it'll just be an evolution. Yeah. I mean, me personally, I turn all voices on my sat-nav off. They drive me nuts.
Yeah.
I will look at the map on the side, and it's got to a point where it's clever enough that if you're going slow, it will zoom into a map, and if you're going fast, it'll zoom out into a different perspective.
So then do you think that all maps will become really homogenized and will just be Google's perspective of what a map should look like? Because it becomes ubiquitous almost. There will be very little difference or very little opportunity for spaces to feel like they're their own. Yeah,
I do think that the complete customization of a map will be reduced for the benefit of the user. I think familiarity of an interface is good. It's why all mobile phones look the same. It's an array of icons, and any interface that's tried something else has always failed. And I think, to base maps on the leaders, Google Maps, Apple Maps, that's what people are familiar with.
Yeah.
But I still think there's a degree of customization within that, like the landmark illustrations, the color scheme to a degree in terms of using brand colors where appropriate. So if your brand has a certain tone of green in it, you can use that tone within your map to represent grass or green areas. But it kind of lends itself towards that brand. But then there's key things like the blue dot. It should always be a blue dot.
Should it? I was going to ask that. Why should it always be a blue dot?
Because people are expecting a blue dot.
Because somebody somewhere went, it's going to be a blue dot, and then that's it.
So that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't want to live the rest of my life with a blue dot.
And a blue line as well.
And a blue line, yeah.
But it's I mean, ordnance and survey maps going back years have
True.
been of
Yeah.
a specific
Yeah,
style
you always
and colour.
know that there's a railway looks like this, an embankment or a mountain, the way they draw the contour lines.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, true.
And even maps of the globe, hundreds of years, the water's blue, the ground is green.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
So, yeah,
I feel a bit
there's
sad about that. And I find it quite hard to articulate why I feel a bit sad about it. There's something in me, and I'm going to be really controversial now, about when citywide wayfinding came in.
Yeah.
There's something really lovely about the idea that you can encourage people to walk,
Yeah.
that you can build a better mental model of the areas and see how they join together.
Yeah.
Because there is, I mean, definitely in a big city, there's a big problem in I might know this bit here and that bit there, but I don't know the bits in between.
Yeah. When I first moved to London, I made a big effort to not take the tube everywhere. Because I realised you take the tube 2 stops
Yeah.
and you think I could have walked that.
Yeah.
I've passed under all these landmarks and
Yeah. And you
if I
could have
just
really seen something.
yeah. And I think that's where Google Maps helped me when when I moved
'Cause
to
it
London,
encourages you to
2006,
do it.
there was no Google Maps.
Yeah.
You had your A to Z, and
Yeah.
I remember inside that it used to, I think, have features that said, "Oh, you can walk 10 minutes and get
Yeah.
to here," but then you're walking around the street holding up this little book
Yeah.
in front of you, trying to figure out where you are, and then Google Maps abstracted that and drew a line, and if you went off that line, it adjusted itself, so it got you back on the line. And yeah, the digital maps in that respect actually improve the ability to navigate your
Yeah.
way so that you don't get yourself in a rut of not exploring.
I guess for me, it's just there's something about, and I don't know, maybe it's slightly wrapped up in what I do for a living. So maybe it's a very personal thing. But when you walk around a city, areas look different. And I like the fact that if you stumble into another part of the city, that the wayfinding information might be delivered to you in a different way.
Yeah.
Because it's almost expressing that part of it. It's a bit like you wouldn't go into the Natural History Museum and then the National Gallery and expect everything to be the same. You'd expect
True,
it to be
yeah.
different. And in a way, I suppose that's why I've got this sort of sense of, oh no, the blue dot on the blue line has now
Yeah.
ubiquitously taken over our lives.
Yeah.
I kind of almost like the fact that if I'm in a different space doing something slightly different, that there is a difference.
The browsing of an indoor space, like a visitor will look at the walls, will look at the items in the space, and they'll get an idea of how the space is and what all the branding and the livery and signage, the style of it within there. And that can be reflected on the map. And that's where we try and tailor things like the fonts we use on our map and the icons we use, so that there is this cohesion between the real world and the digital world. And
But do you think that, 20 years' time when people are wearing glasses or contact lenses, that the transition between the outside spaces and the inside spaces means that it will be like the mobile phone, that the map that you see externally will end up being the same as the map you see internally because it's being delivered primarily in the same way by...
I don't think so. I think if it were a world where Apple Maps and Google Maps were doing the indoor maps, then yeah, certainly. But they won't be. They've got other things to do.
Bigger fish
They've
to
got to make the
fry.
headsets.
Yeah,
and the software
of
that runs on them.
course, yeah.
So I always think the indoor mapping aspect will be tailored to the venue that has requested someone
But that's
to build
nice.
it.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Because, the idea that either the map dies or it becomes really homogenized.
Yeah. I think there's some key bits to a map that a user expects, one of which is the blue dot and the blue line, unfortunately.
Oh.
But how that navigates through the space around that on the map can be tailored.
Yeah, it can
because
change.
a user knows if I follow the blue line, I'll get to where I'm going. All this red or green or blue stuff around me is things in this venue, and this venue is different to that venue. So they'll be fine with it being a bit different. Yeah, it won't be any different to today, where each venue can have its own tailored indoor experience, just like they have their own website and their own print signage.
I mean, I think that's the thing. It's that idea of being able to claim the space. It's your building, and therefore you should be able to claim all of its territory, including the map.
Yeah.
Because you might want to move people around in a different way in one space than you do in another.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you brought up the Met earlier.
Yeah.
They want people to go a certain way.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got certain routes across their map where they want people to go that way instead of the shortest path.
Yeah.
And yeah, we tailor the map to do that kind of thing. We can do it on a dynamic scale as well. So a lot of routes will pass through a gallery, but sometimes that gallery is shut. So
yeah, of course.
So when it's shut, the map will dynamically route you around that gallery rather than through it.
And what's the process for that? Because it just suddenly occurred to me that, you know, those things kind of happen sometimes on quite an ad hoc basis. The client needs to come back to your team to have the map updated, or is it something that in the sort of the back end system they can do?
Yeah, we that's a big part of our platform, the map management system. So So when we start a project, we will create their map for them. We'll gather their point of interest information and we'll populate our data set with that. And then from go live, the client can at will change or edit information on the points of interest. And in the case of the galleries within a museum, they can close a gallery and that will automatically impact the underlying routing network that decides which way to send people.
So that's really good. I mean, that's a super benefit for clients because if you think about having a paper map that's printed out,
it's out of date as soon as one thing
yeah,
changes.
exactly. And if you think about if you just have the static ones that are positioned in place and you don't even provide a handout, you've got someone running around trying to put a sticker on something and it looks unfinished, unbranded and a bit sort of, you know, bit of a mess. And all the time that it takes for someone to run around and do that.
Yeah. And the print costs and the design team costs. And
and you need to know loads in advance to be able to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite a big benefit.
Yeah. And in terms of routing as well, we can pull in information from outside systems. So say if a venue had like sensors for crowd counting.
Yeah.
And so we could take that information and if a route would normally go through what is currently a busy section, we can use that information to route people a different way as well. So it's all very dynamic and I think for clients that's another big benefit because that flexibility of being able to change things and not relying on maybe a digital sign that isn't particularly nice, doesn't fit in with what they're trying to be as an organisation and is also quite rudimentary. Yeah.
Or just having people going, not this way, go that way. It really does make a massive difference.
Yeah. And you're calling out signage there, but if the map was part of the sign as an interactive kiosk, then that too can do that as well. So again, that's where there is synergy between the physical and digital world. It doesn't need to be a this and that. And so it works really well.
So I guess if we flip that on its head, are there any risks or hidden costs or things that clients should be aware of? You know, if you had to put in clients always think about this. That they will have likely forgot or didn't know they should have thought of.
Yeah. The main one for our clients is that the map is never done. I mean it's in our name. It's a living entity. It's a living map. The map we deliver on day 1 or day 0, that could change at any point in the future. So clients always need to ensure that there is somebody there that owns the map, that is responsible for its upkeep, essentially, because we can't be, because we don't know when the venue changes. And so just to ensure that what we deliver to you is thought about, it becomes part of your process of, this this shop unit's changed over here, so I need to inform the guy who updates the map that needs to update. So that's a big one for our clients. I mean, it's not necessarily a cost; it's more of an upkeep, but it's something that if they left it, it gets out of date, and then it becomes a big cost to update and refresh and redo again.
Yeah, and I think that's a really key point about that sort of governance piece internally.
Yeah.
Because I think there is always this sense with wayfinding projects that a capital budget is put to one side and they go, right, here you go. We'll have a lovely digital map, or we'll replace all our signs, or we'll do a big placemaking piece. And then you think, well, that's it. That project is over.
Yeah.
But actually, it's never over.
Yeah.
It, as you quite rightly say, it never ends. And that's because the building is not static and the people in the building are not static.
Yeah.
And wayfinding is about us not being static.
Yeah, absolutely. And use cases change. I mean, and generational change as well. So like the younger generation now are probably more adept to using digital maps and would use it over the physical signage in the space, and that will probably continue. So things change.
And I guess in a way that leads me into talking about how you measure success. Should we talk about a successful living map on your mobile device or in a kiosk?
Yeah.
Should we measure it by saying that person's journey was quicker? Should we measure it by saying there were less wayfinding questions asked of staff? Although that's a bit more challenging because wayfinding takes in so many different things, including the stress level of the person in that moment. Is it about efficiency, or do you think there's something more subtle? Or is it actually we can only measure certain parts of it?
Yeah.
But we can never see the whole picture.
Yeah, it's an incredibly hard one to do, and our clients ask for it a lot. I mean, we can quantify things like what people are searching for on the map or what routes are generated. When it comes to kiosks, we know what people are looking from at what particular point in space. So that kind of infers what people are struggling to find at certain locations.
It's quite rich data.
Yeah.
Does it surprise clients when you feed that information back to them?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, there's certain locations at one of our clients where there's a particular shop that people are struggling to find, and it's only from that one point in the shopping centre. And so for them, it could give them the necessary information to say, right, people are struggling to find this shop here, and there's a lot of people. It's the top hit on your kiosk. Maybe you just need to put a big sign up above it that says this shop is this way, in which case you're pulling people off of the map. But is that a success because you've now made happier people that can find that shop?
There's another issue with that though, isn't there? Because suddenly that shop gets called out in a different way to all the other shops.
Yeah.
And all the other shops all say, well, I want a big sign now.
Yeah.
And before you know it, there's 500 signs, and then everyone's still stuck
again, so you
at
go
that
back to the map.
kiosk going.
Yeah. So it's really hard to measure. I mean, the only true way to measure it would be for someone on the ground to like ask people to fill out a questionnaire and to gauge frustration levels, or ask them, right, you've just looked at the kiosk. Do you know where you're going?
Yeah.
I mean, we do that to a sense. We do some usability testing and see how people fare to like changes and edits we make to our user interface and try and tweak it to make it more user friendly and more get the people to be able to find what they want better. It's really hard to tell. I mean, the ultimate success is people finding where they're going, but often that's not through having a map constantly with them.
It's a multitude of things.
I mean, for us,
it's quite unmeasurable in many respects.
Like if we track that 10,000 people have used the map and in that time they used the map for over 20 minutes, you can say, well, that sounds successful, but is it a case that, well, they've used it for 20 minutes because they're really stuck and lost?
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Did they use the map for 20 minutes because the building is potentially so difficult to find your way around that they're just in that map? And in which case there's something very fundamental going on that no map in the world and no signs are ever going to fix.
Yeah. To measure success, it really has to be a qualitative measure. It needs to be randomly talking to a sample of users of the map, which obviously requires going to the space. And that's the problem with digital mapping. It's if you want to measure how good it is, you have to go to the space and talk to the people there and then. But yeah, it's an interesting one because the usual metrics that you get for other digital stuff like website users and things like Google Analytics, it doesn't necessarily apply to this.
Absolutely.
It's a lot easier to measure success in usage through kiosks when you've got a kiosk in a space and the kiosk looks like a map. So it's not taken over by adverts or splash screens. When it looks like
the
a
old
map,
hospital maps that have got all the adverts for the hairdressers all around the outside and you can't focus.
So when it looks like a map, when it looks like you can interact with it, so like having a screen that's portrait rather than landscape, because people become kind of banner blind to landscape TVs that just look like TVs.
Yeah.
Then making sure people know that they can use it and they interact with it, that's when you can get the golden information from it. So what are they searching for? Where are they searching from? Are they browsing the kiosk? Or do they look for one thing? That information is quite key.
But I think you just said something that was, I think for a lot of clients would be super fascinating. And you sort of brushed it off because for you it's just really standard. But you just said, make it portrait, make the screen portrait and not landscape, because otherwise people just go, it's a TV. Yeah. And I mean, like that is actually obvious, but from a client's perspective, they would have no idea that that's a good thing to do. Yeah. So it's really interesting, like getting that level of knowledge. I think clients would, really react to that.
And for things like that, it's taken, like it's witnessing the world around you, like. Every McDonald's you go into now, or Burger King, has interactive
yes, they do.
Screens. And so people are becoming a lot more accustomed to interacting with screens.
Yeah, true.
Just like they've grown accustomed to having maps on their phones that you can pinch and zoom and search. And so it's taking those visual cues, it's making sure that becomes a obvious channel for people to get to the map. Then from the map, we have things like QR codes that you can scan and take what's on the screen in front of you with you, essentially. So it's driving people to the map and making sure that the maps get used right.
Yeah, it's fascinating. One question I do want to ask is, what is one assumption about navigation that you think the industry needs to challenge?
Oof.
I know, that's quite a question.
Again, it's that case of a building is never done.
Yes.
How people want to navigate through a space can change over time. You'll get some people who want to browse. You'll get some people that want to beeline for what they're going to. It's not taking every visitor for granted. I mean, again, the shopping centre scenario, a typical bloke shopping, straight to it. Typical
in
girl
here,
shopping,
out again.
browsing. and it's a stereotype, but it is to a degree truthful.
Yes.
And so it's not taking your users or your visitors or your patients for granted as to what they want to do in the space. It's you got to learn about the use cases, learn about what they want, learn about how easy it is for them to use a map. Understand that people may want to use large kiosks, but they don't want to use their phones, or people want to use their phones, not large kiosks. And sometimes the map can just be a secondary thing. It doesn't need to be the primary means for getting someone to somewhere. I mean, a key use that I like to see is we have a client at Canary Wharf where we've witnessed the security guard standing close to the kiosks, and people will walk up to the kiosk, start typing in, and the security guard will come and help them and advise them on how to use the kiosk. They'll never they'll never just say, "Oh, go down that way." They'll say, "All right, you want to find this shop? Come over here to this kiosk. I'll help you find it on here."
Well, I actually had an example of this in Canary Wharf. I wasn't trying to find a shop. I was trying to find an office. And I had been to that office before, which is even more annoying. And I'm a wayfinder, so therefore it's against the law that I get lost. And I got horrendously lost in that shopping centre, and I was going to be late for the meeting. And I had my colleague phoning me saying, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm in the shopping centre somewhere. I don't know." And I went over to a map to start trying to fathom it out. And the security guard came over, and I was like, "I don't know where I am." And he literally took me, which was an absolute pleasure. But also my colleague was roaring with laughter when he saw me walking along with the security guard. And I was like, "Please don't tell anyone. The wayfinder can't find her way." But, you know, I think there's something lovely in that handover between people and objects. And we do have this thing in our heads around digital being a very solitary, almost scary thing.
Yeah.
And that idea that it's actually human.
Yeah. It's like it's scan this QR code or download this app, but it's on you to figure it out. It's not. It should be a handoff, a nice...
Yeah, an interaction.
Yeah. And we do advise some of our clients, so you've got like people who accept, like, they'll welcome their guests into an establishment. Give that person an iPad, let them hold the iPad with the map on it to then advise the person, this is the map, this is the space. Oh, and if you scan this QR code, you can take this map with you. And it's still akin to that, to when you arrive at a hotel in a foreign country and they get the pamphlet out and scribble on it. You can do that digitally. And it's nice, it's more accepted, it's an easier way in. So yeah, don't assume that if you've got a digital map or digital navigation, then that's all you need. It's a full experience all the way through, from walking into a space, seeing the signs, seeing what's there, orientating yourself, and a digital map is part of that.
That's lovely. Well, I think there's some really, really key takeaways from today, and I've really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
I think the thing about it still being a human experience and that we will never take ourselves outside of the navigation process.
Yeah.
The fact that you said that maps aren't necessarily going to solve all of your problems. They're a part of the tools of the armoury.
Yeah.
And that, you know, they'll never go away. I'm slightly sad that the blue dot and the blue line are here to say. I might have to go and have a bit of a cry about that. But I think also that thing for clients about the fact that these maps have a multi-use and, you know, there is something really important about the operational usages of map that everyone always forgets.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's finding something in 3D space.
In a difficult space.
Yeah.
And that we are all humans at the end of the day that need that level of support. We can't do it without.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been really good. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for
I really
having me.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to our latest Wayfinding Xchange podcast. Stay tuned for further episodes and feel free to contact us with any questions and suggestions for future episodes.